Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know many of you use these videos to fall asleep. So before you drift off, I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. The Vanishing Hikers. A group of friends decided to embark on a camping trip in the scenic Appalachian Mountains, eager to enjoy the beauty of nature and the thrill of hiking. They set up their tents in a secluded area, surrounded by towering trees and the sounds of wildlife. The plan was simple. After settling in, they would go for a hike to explore the trails nearby. The hike begins. As they ventured into the woods, laughter and excitement filled the air. The group, consisting of 5 friends, felt a sense of camaraderie as they navigated through the trails, sharing stories and taking in the breathtaking views. However, as the sun began to set, they realized it was time to head back to their campsite. Upon returning, a chilling silence enveloped them. 2 of their friends, Jake and Emily, were missing. The remaining 3 called out their names, hoping for a response, but only the rustling leaves answered. A sense of panic began to set in as they searched the immediate vicinity of their campsite. The search effort. Initial search. The trio split up to cover more ground. They retraced their steps along the trail they had just hiked, calling out for Jake and Emily. They searched behind trees, under bushes, and along the path leading deeper into the woods. Time passed slowly as dusk turned into night. Desperation sets in. After hours of searching with no sign of their friends, anxiety transformed into desperation. They decided to return to camp and gather their gear. With heavy hearts and growing concern, they packed up their belongings, hoping that Jake and Emily would return soon. Leaving the woods, as they made their way back to civilization, fear gripped them. What could have happened? Had they gotten lost? Injured? The questions haunted them as they drove away from the mountains. They reported their friend's disappearance to local authorities as soon as they reached town. The search intensifies. Rescue operations. Local law enforcement organized a search party that included volunteers from nearby towns and experienced search and rescue teams. Helicopters flew overhead while searchers combed through the dense underbrush with flashlights. Days turned into weeks with no trace of Jake or Emily. Community support. The community rallied around the families of the missing hikers, providing food and support for those involved in the search efforts. Flyers were distributed with pictures of Jake and Emily, asking anyone who might have seen them to come forward. Clues emerge. Weeks later, a breakthrough occurred when a hiker reported seeing 2 individuals matching Jake and Emily's descriptions several miles away from where they had last been seen. This sighting reignited hope among searchers and families alike. Theories abound. Speculation ran rampant about what could have happened during those fateful hours in the woods. Some believed that they had become disoriented while exploring off-trail areas. Others feared that an accident had occurred. A grim discovery. After nearly a month of searching, a tragic discovery was made in a remote area not far from their original campsite. Searchers found personal belongings belonging to Jake and Emily scattered around an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. Inside, there were signs that someone had taken refuge there. Clothing hung on hooks and food wrappers littered about. Final search efforts. Despite extensive searches around this area, no signs of Jake or Emily were found inside or outside the cabin. As days turned into months without any further leads or sightings, hope began to wane. The aftermath. The incident left an indelible mark on everyone involved. The remaining friends were haunted by guilt for not keeping better track of their companions. Families were left with unanswered questions and an overwhelming sense of loss. In time, memorials were held for Jake and Emily at various locations along the Appalachian Trail where they had hiked together with their friends. Their story became part of local lore, a cautionary tale about the unpredictability of nature and the importance of safety when venturing into the wilderness. Reflections on adventure. Years later, those who knew Jake and Emily continued to share memories of their adventurous spirits. Their disappearance served as a reminder for hikers everywhere about preparation. Always informing someone about your plans, carrying essential gear, and never hiking alone when possible. The Appalachian Mountains remain beautiful yet unpredictable. Hikers continued to traverse its trails while remembering those who had vanished within its depths. The mystery surrounding Jake and Emily's fate lingered on, a chilling reminder that even in nature's beauty lies an inherent danger that can lead to unforeseen tragedies. Story 2. The Whispering Woods. In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, a solo camper named Alex sought solace in the dense woods, yearning for a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. The allure of the towering trees, the crisp air, and the promise of tranquility drew him deep into the wilderness. Little did he know that his adventure would soon turn into a chilling experience that would haunt him long after he left. Into the woods, Alex arrived at a secluded campsite nestled among ancient pines and vibrant underbrush. He set up his tent, relishing the sounds of nature, the rustling leaves, chirping birds, and distant babbling brooks. As daylight faded and dusk settled in, he prepared a simple meal over a campfire, feeling content with his decision to escape into nature. As night enveloped the woods, an eerie stillness descended. The only sounds were the crackling fire and the occasional hoot of an owl. However, as he sat by the fire, Alex began to notice something unsettling. A faint whisper seemed to dance through the air, barely audible, yet undeniably present. The whispers began. At first, Alex dismissed it as nothing more than the wind weaving through the branches. He tried to shake off the unease creeping into his mind, attributing it to fatigue. But as he settled into his sleeping bag that night, the whispers grew louder, words indistinguishable but laced with an ominous tone. "Help, come closer," they seemed to beckon. Alex's heart raced as he sat up in his tent, straining to hear over the pounding of his pulse. The whispers seemed to swirl around him, echoing through the trees. He convinced himself it was merely his imagination playing tricks on him in the dark. A disturbing night. Sleep eluded him that night. Every rustle and creak outside sent shivers down his spine. The whispers continued to invade his thoughts, growing more menacing with each passing hour. He could almost feel their presence pressing against him, urging him to venture out into the darkness. As dawn broke, Alex emerged from his tent bleary-eyed but determined to shake off the unsettling experience. He packed up his gear and decided to take a morning hike to clear his mind. The beauty of nature surrounded him, the sunlight filtering through leaves and illuminating wildflowers. But even amid this beauty, he felt an unshakable tension. The decision to leave. After a few hours of hiking, Alex returned to camp feeling slightly better, but still haunted by last night's events. As evening approached again, he felt an overwhelming urge to leave. The whispers had not ceased. They lingered at the edges of his consciousness like a bad dream, refusing to fade. He hurriedly packed up his belongings, glancing nervously at the trees as if they were watching him. Just as he was about to leave, he heard it again, a clear whisper that sent chills down his spine. "Stay, don't go." Panic surged through him as he stumbled toward his car. The whispers seemed to follow him, growing louder with every step he took away from the campsite. It was as if they were woven into the very fabric of the woods themselves. The escape. Once inside his car, Alex slammed the door shut and started the engine. He drove away from the campsite with a sense of urgency, glancing in the rearview mirror as if expecting to see something lurking behind him. The whispers faded slightly, but remained etched in his mind, a haunting reminder of what he had experienced. As he navigated through winding roads surrounded by towering trees, Alex couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong, that perhaps he had disturbed something ancient and powerful hidden within those woods. Long-lasting echoes. Days turned into weeks after leaving Whispering Woods, but Alex found it impossible to forget what had happened. The whispers echoed in his mind during quiet moments, at work, at home, even in crowded places where laughter and conversation filled the air. He tried discussing it with friends and family, but found that no one truly understood. Most laughed it off as an overactive imagination or attributed it to fatigue from camping alone in such a remote area. Yet for Alex, it was all too real. Determined to confront his fears and find closure, Alex returned to Whispering Woods weeks later armed with a camera and a notebook. He wanted evidence, something tangible that could explain what had happened during that fateful night. Revisiting Whispering Woods. Upon arrival at the campsite, everything appeared serene and unchanged. However, an unsettling feeling washed over him as he stepped onto familiar ground. The whispers were gone, silenced by time, but their absence felt heavy in the air. As night fell once more, Alex set up camp again, but kept a vigilant watch on his surroundings. He documented everything, the sounds of nature around him and any strange occurrences, but nothing out of the ordinary transpired that night. Yet when sleep began to claim him once more, He felt an inexplicable pull toward the depths of the woods, the same pull that had haunted him before. A final confrontation. Unable to resist any longer, Alex ventured deeper into whispering woods under a blanket of stars. With each step further away from camp, he felt both exhilarated and terrified. Was he seeking answers or merely inviting danger? The deeper he went into those woods, shadows danced around him as if alive. Suddenly, he heard them again, the whispers, clearer now than ever before. Join us forever. Fear gripped him tightly as memories flooded back. Memories of those who had come before him seeking solace or adventure, but never returned home. Realizing how close he was to losing himself completely in this haunting place sent adrenaline coursing through him. Breaking free, with newfound clarity fueled by fear for his life and sanity, Alex turned on his heel and sprinted back toward camp as fast as he could manage through thick underbrush and uneven ground. The whispers grew frantic behind him. Stay. Don't leave. But he pushed forward until finally reaching safety near his car. Breathless and shaken, yet relieved beyond measure when finally inside again, Alex drove away without looking back this time. Not even once, to ensure those haunting voices couldn't follow him home. Reflections on fear. Back in civilization, surrounded by familiar sights and sounds once more. However safe yet unsettled remained within him. A reminder that some places hold secrets best left undisturbed. In time, while life resumed its normal rhythm, whispers lingered just beneath surface thoughts whenever solitude descended upon moments alone. A reminder of what lay waiting amidst shadows deep within whispering woods. A place where echoes dance on winds, carrying stories untold by those who dare venture too far into its embrace without caution or respect for its power over minds lost forever among its trees. Story 3. The Mysterious Footprints. A group of friends, Mark, Sarah, Jake, and Lisa, decided to escape the chaos of their everyday lives by embarking on a camping trip in the majestic Rocky Mountains. The allure of the towering peaks, sprawling forests, and crystal clear lakes promised an adventure filled with laughter and camaraderie. Little did they know that their trip would take a mysterious turn that would leave them questioning the very nature of reality. Setting up camp. After a long drive filled with excitement and anticipation, the group arrived at their chosen campsite, nestled in a clearing surrounded by towering pines. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue over the landscape as they set up their tents and gathered firewood. Laughter echoed through the trees as they shared stories and roasted marshmallows over the crackling campfire. As night fell, the atmosphere shifted. The sounds of nature enveloped them. The rustling leaves, distant hoots of owls, and the occasional snap of twigs underfoot. They felt at peace, disconnected from the world. However, that tranquility was about to be shattered. The discovery. The next morning, Mark awoke early to the sound of birds chirping outside his tent. He decided to take a stroll around the campsite to soak in the beauty of the mountains. As he wandered further into the woods, he stumbled upon something unusual, a set of large footprints leading away from their camp. Curious, he called for his friends to join him. The group gathered around the strange prints, examining them closely. They were unmistakably humanoid, but larger than any human foot they had ever seen. The toes were well defined, and the depth of each print suggested a heavy weight had pressed down into the soft earth. Who could have made these? Sarah asked, her brow furrowed in confusion. I don't know, Jake replied, but they definitely weren't here last night. Following the footprints, intrigued and slightly unnerved, the friends decided to follow the footprints deeper into the woods. They felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as they ventured away from their campsite. The further they walked, the more pronounced their unease became. It was as if an unseen force was watching them. The path twisted and turned through thick underbrush and towering trees. Occasionally, they would stop to examine other prints. Some were larger than others, suggesting multiple beings had passed through. Each discovery heightened their sense of dread. It felt wrong to be following these tracks. What if it's just some guy out here hiking? Lisa suggested nervously. Maybe, Mark replied hesitantly. But these prints are too big. As they pressed on, whispers began to fill the air, soft murmurs that seemed to echo among the trees. At first, they thought it was just the wind playing tricks on them. However, as they continued walking, it became evident that something was amiss. An increasing sense of dread. The whispers grew louder as they followed the trail of footprints deeper into the woods. It felt as if they were being beckoned forward, yet warned to turn back at the same time. Anxiety settled in like a thick fog around them. Guys, Jake said suddenly, stopping in his tracks. Do you feel that? It's like something's not right. The others nodded in agreement. An overwhelming sense of dread washed over them. They exchanged nervous glances but continued onward. Curiosity mingled with fear drove them deeper into this mystery. Suddenly, they reached a clearing where the footprints abruptly vanished into thin air. There were no signs of disturbance in the earth beyond this point. It was as if whoever, or whatever, had made those prints had simply disappeared without a trace. What just happened? Sarah asked incredulously as she scanned their surroundings for any clues. I don't know, Mark replied uneasily, but we should probably head back. The return journey. As they turned to retrace their steps back to camp, an eerie silence enveloped them. The whispers had ceased entirely, replaced by an unsettling stillness that felt oppressive and unnatural. Each step felt heavier than before, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. The friends hurried back through the woods but found themselves disoriented. Familiar landmarks seemed to shift before their eyes. What should have been a straightforward path back to camp now appeared foreign and twisted. Are we lost? Lisa asked nervously, glancing around at her friends who wore expressions of concern. Just keep moving, Jake urged, trying to maintain calm despite his own rising anxiety. A haunting revelation. After what felt like hours navigating through thick underbrush and towering trees, they finally stumbled upon a familiar clearing, their campsite. Relief washed over them momentarily until they realized something was wrong. Their tents were still standing where they left them, but everything else fell off kilter. The fire pit was cold and empty. Food supplies scattered across the ground as if someone had rifled through them in haste. Panic surged through Mark as he scanned for any signs of life among his friends' belongings. "Where is everyone?" he shouted into the silence. Suddenly, from behind one of the tents came a low growl, a sound unlike anything they had ever heard before. Paralyzed by fear for a moment longer than necessary, instinct kicked in as they grabbed whatever gear was closest before bolting toward their vehicle parked nearby. Escaping the woods, they scrambled into Mark's truck without looking back, hearts pounding in unison as adrenaline coursed through their veins. As Mark started the engine and sped away from Whispering Pines campground, he glanced in his rearview mirror only once to see shadows flickering among trees behind them. "What just happened?" Sarah gasped between breaths while clutching her arms tightly around herself for comfort against the lingering chills creeping up her spine. "I don't know," Mark replied breathlessly while gripping tightly on his steering wheel with white knuckles. "But whatever it was, I don't think we should ever come back here again." Lingering questions. As they drove down winding mountain roads towards civilization, unease settled heavily within each friend's heart. A shared experience that would forever haunt them with unanswered questions about those mysterious footprints leading into darkness beyond comprehension or reason. What had happened during their fateful journey? Would anyone believe their tale? And most importantly, what lay hidden within those woods waiting for unsuspecting adventurers seeking thrill amidst nature's beauty? Though time passed after leaving Whispering Pines campground, memories remained etched vividly within minds. A reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, lurking quietly beneath surface shadows cast by ancient trees whispering secrets long forgotten by those who dared tread too far into unknown realms beyond human understanding. Story 4. The Ghostly Campers. In the heart of the Ozark Mountains, a couple named Emily and Tom sought a weekend escape from their busy lives in the city. They were drawn to the rugged beauty of the area, with its lush forests, winding trails, and tranquil lakes. After a long drive filled with laughter and anticipation, they arrived at their campsite, eager to immerse themselves in nature. Setting up camp, the couple set up their tent in a secluded clearing surrounded by towering trees. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the landscape. They gathered firewood and soon had a crackling campfire that illuminated their faces and filled the air with the comforting scent of burning wood. As they sat together, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories, they felt a deep sense of peace. As night fell, the stars began to twinkle above them, creating a breathtaking canopy of light. They listened to the sounds of nature, the rustling leaves, distant hoots of owls, and the gentle chirping of crickets. It was a perfect evening until something unusual caught Emily's eye. The ghostly apparitions. In the distance, Beyond the reach of their campfire's glow, Emily noticed a flickering light. At first, she thought it was just her imagination playing tricks in the dark. However, as she squinted into the shadows, she saw a group of figures gathered around what appeared to be another campfire. "Tom, look over there," she whispered urgently, pointing toward the flickering light. Tom turned his gaze in the direction she indicated. "What is that?" he asked, his brow furrowing in confusion. As they watched intently, they could make out several ghostly figures sitting on logs and enjoying what seemed to be a picnic. The apparitions were translucent and shimmered like mist under the moonlight. They laughed and chatted amongst themselves as if they were having a perfectly normal evening. Emily felt both intrigued and unsettled. "Do you think we should go over there?" she asked hesitantly. "I don't know," Tom replied cautiously. "It looks like some sort of ghostly gathering. The fading figures." The couple continued to observe from their campsite as the ghostly campers seemed to enjoy their picnic, passing around plates filled with food that glimmered faintly in the moonlight. However, just as quickly as they had appeared, an unsettling change began to take place. The figures started to fade away one by one. Their laughter grew quieter until it was barely audible above the crackling fire. Emily clutched Tom's arm tightly as she watched in disbelief. It was as if they were being swallowed by the darkness surrounding them. "Tom, what's happening?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," he replied, feeling an inexplicable chill run down his spine. "This is strange," as if sensing their unease. The last remaining figure turned toward them for just a moment before vanishing entirely into thin air. The couple sat in stunned silence. They could hardly process what they had just witnessed. Packing up, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity, Emily suggested they pack up their gear and leave. "I don't think I want to stay here anymore," she said softly. Tom nodded in agreement. He felt an overwhelming urge to get away from this eerie campsite. They quickly dismantled their tent and gathered their belongings while stealing glances at the spot where the ghostly campers had gathered moments before. As they loaded up their car under the fading light of dawn, an unsettling feeling lingered in the air, a sense that something beyond their understanding had occurred during that night. The journey home, driving away from the campsite, felt like escaping from an unexplainable mystery that would haunt them for years to come. The beautiful scenery of the Ozark Mountains blurred past them as they navigated winding roads back towards civilization. "What do you think we saw?" Emily asked after several minutes of silence. "I have no idea," Tom admitted, "but it felt real, too real." They discussed various theories. Perhaps it was some sort of local folklore or an unexplained phenomenon unique to that area. Both agreed that whatever it was best left unexplored. Some mysteries were meant to remain unsolved. Lingering memories. Back at home, life resumed its normal pace for Emily and Tom. However, they found themselves frequently reminiscing about that fateful night in the Ozarks. The memory of those ghostly campers lingered like an echo in their minds, a haunting reminder of an experience that defied logic and reason. They began researching local legends surrounding camping in the Ozark Mountains. Stories about ghostly apparitions known to wander through woods at night, or tales passed down through generations about lost souls seeking solace among nature's beauty. Each story added layers to their own experience, but never provided any concrete answers. Sharing their story. Months later, at a gathering with friends around another campfire, a familiar setting, they decided to share what had happened during their camping trip. As they recounted their tale of encountering ghostly campers in distant woods, eyes widened with intrigue while others exchanged skeptical glances or chuckled nervously at what seemed like an outlandish story. Maybe you just saw some other campers who were really far away, one friend suggested playfully. Or maybe it was all just a dream, another chimed in with laughter. But deep down inside, Emily and Tom knew what they had witnessed was more than mere imagination. It was an experience that transcended reality itself. A glimpse into something beyond comprehension. A world where spirits danced among trees while enjoying picnics under starlit skies. Reflection on nature's mysteries. As time passed, Emily found herself drawn back to nature. The peace it offered her soul outweighed any fear she carried from that night long ago. She began hiking regularly through local trails while Tom joined her whenever possible, together exploring new landscapes, but always keeping an eye out for signs of those ghostly campers lurking just beyond sight. Their encounters became part of who they were, reminders that life holds mysteries waiting patiently beneath surface realities. Hidden stories woven in the fabric of existence itself, waiting for those brave enough or foolish enough to seek them out amidst whispers carried on winds rustling through trees standing tall against backdrop painted by time itself. Though haunted by memories, Emily found solace knowing some experiences shape us forever, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary tales woven seamlessly in a tapestry called life. A reminder that adventure lies not only within realms we can see, but also within shadows cast by flickering campfires dancing against darkness surrounding us all. Story 5. The Cursed Stream. A group of friends, Megan, Alex, Jake, and Lisa, decided to embark on a camping trip to the serene yet mysterious Adirondack Mountains. They were drawn by the promise of adventure, the beauty of nature, and the thrill of exploring the unknown. Little did they know, their journey would lead them to a chilling encounter that would change their lives forever. Arrival at the campsite. After a long drive filled with laughter and anticipation, they arrived at a remote campsite nestled near a babbling stream. The sound of water flowing over rocks was soothing, and the lush greenery surrounding them created an idyllic setting. They set up their tents, gathered firewood, and prepared for a weekend of fun and relaxation. As night fell, they sat around the campfire, sharing stories and roasting marshmallows. The stars twinkled above them, casting a magical glow over the landscape. However, as they enjoyed their evening, an unsettling feeling began to creep in, an awareness that they were not alone in these woods. The discovery of the glowing rock. The next morning, eager to explore their surroundings, the group decided to hike along the stream. As they walked, they noticed something unusual glimmering in the water, a strange rock that seemed to emit a faint glow. Intrigued, they approached it cautiously. "What is that?" Lisa asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "I don't know," Alex replied, kneeling down to examine it more closely. "But it looks like it's glowing." The rock was smooth and oddly warm to the touch. It pulsed with a soft light that seemed to change colors as they moved around it. Despite its beauty, an inexplicable sense of foreboding hung in the air. "Maybe we should leave it here," Megan suggested nervously. "It could be dangerous." But Jake was already reaching for the rock. "Come on, it's just a rock. Let's take it back to camp. It could be worth something." Against their better judgment, and despite warnings from locals about strange occurrences in this part of the woods, they decided to take the glowing rock back to their campsite. A night of terror. That night, as they sat around the campfire with the glowing rock placed prominently between them, an eerie atmosphere settled over their campsite. The once comforting sounds of nature morphed into something unsettling. The rustling leaves began to sound like whispers, and shadows danced just beyond the firelight. As darkness enveloped them, strange noises echoed through the woods, crackling branches and distant murmurs that seemed to call out to them. Each friend exchanged nervous glances. Unease hung thick in the air. "Did you hear that?" Lisa whispered. "Yeah," Jake replied uneasily. "It's probably just animals." But deep down, they all felt something was wrong. The glowing rock flickered ominously, as if responding to their fear. Suddenly, visions flashed before their eyes. Images of people from another time gathered by the stream, laughing and enjoying picnics before fading into shadows. "What is happening?" Megan gasped as she clutched her head in confusion. "I don't know," Alex shouted over the cacophony of whispers that seemed to surround them now. "We need to get rid of that rock." The morning after, when dawn finally broke, they awoke in a state of disarray. Scattered blankets and remnants of last night's fire littered around them. The glowing rock was gone. It had vanished without a trace during the night. "What happened?" Jake mumbled groggily as he rubbed his eyes. "It's gone," Lisa exclaimed as she searched frantically around their campsite. "Where did it go?" Panic set in as they realized that not only had the rock disappeared, but also any semblance of normalcy from their trip. They felt different, haunted by visions and sounds that lingered in their minds like echoes of a forgotten nightmare. Leaving the Adirondacks, feeling shaken and unsettled, they quickly packed up their campsite and decided to leave. As they drove away from the Adirondacks, silence filled the car, each friend lost in their thoughts about what had transpired during those harrowing hours. "What do you think happened?" Megan finally broke the silence. "I think we messed with something we shouldn't have," Alex replied solemnly. "That rock, it wasn't just a rock." Jake remained quiet. He felt guilt gnawing at him for insisting on taking it from its resting place by the stream. They had disregarded local warnings about strange occurrences tied to that area, a mistake that would haunt them all. The changes within. In the weeks following their trip, each friend began experiencing strange occurrences in their daily lives. Unexplainable feelings of dread or glimpses of shadows out of the corner of their eyes. They became increasingly paranoid. It felt as if something was watching them from afar. Megan started having nightmares about ghostly figures gathered by a stream. The same figure she had seen fading away near their campsite. Jake found himself drawn back to thoughts of that glowing rock. He couldn't shake off feelings of guilt for bringing it into their lives. Lisa became withdrawn. She often stared off into space as if lost in memories she couldn't quite grasp. Alex tried to hold everything together, but felt helpless against an invisible force slowly unraveling their friendship. Seeking answers. Desperate for answers about what had happened during that fateful camping trip, Megan suggested revisiting local lore surrounding cursed places and Adirondack folklore. The stories passed down through generations warning travelers about things best left undisturbed. They began researching tales about cursed streams and mysterious rocks said to have strange powers. Legends warning against taking anything from nature without respect for its origins or consequences. Each story resonated deeply within them. A reminder that some mysteries are not meant for human hands, but rather belong solely within realms untouched by civilization's greed or curiosity. Final reflections. Months turned into years since that ill-fated camping trip. While life continued outside those haunting memories, the friends remained forever changed by what transpired near that cursed stream in Adirondacks, a place where echoes lingered long after footsteps faded away into shadows cast by ancient trees whispering secrets lost among time itself. Though separated by distance now, each friend carried within themselves lessons learned through shared experiences forged under starlit skies. A reminder that nature holds power beyond comprehension. A force capable of transforming lives forever when boundaries between worlds blur beneath shimmering surfaces reflecting light from above. Story 6. The Shadow Figure. In the heart of the Sierra Nevada mountains, a solo camper named David sought refuge from the chaos of his daily life. An avid hiker and nature lover, he had always found solace in the great outdoors. This time, he ventured into a remote area known for its stunning views and tranquil surroundings, eager to escape the noise and stress of the city. Setting up camp, David arrived at a picturesque campsite nestled among towering pines and vibrant wildflowers. The sun was shining brightly, and the gentle sound of a nearby stream provided a soothing backdrop as he set up his tent. After unpacking his gear, he decided to explore the area before nightfall, eager to take in the beauty of the Sierra Nevada. As he hiked along winding trails, David marveled at the towering peaks and lush valleys that surrounded him. The fresh mountain air invigorated him, and he felt a deep sense of peace. However, as evening approached, he knew it was time to return to camp. The first signs, as David made his way back to his campsite, He noticed an unusual stillness in the air. The chirping of birds had faded, and even the rustling leaves seemed muted. He shrugged off the feeling of unease that began to creep in. After all, nature could be unpredictable. Once back at camp, David lit a fire and prepared dinner while enjoying the serene atmosphere. As night fell, he sat by the fire, gazing into the flames and reflecting on his day. However, as darkness enveloped the forest, something caught his attention, a shadowy figure lurking just beyond the tree-line. The shadow figure. At first, David dismissed it as a trick of the light, or perhaps an animal moving through the underbrush. But as he squinted into the darkness, he realized that it was not an animal at all. The figure stood tall and motionless, partially obscured by trees but clearly watching him. His heart raced as fear washed over him. The figure was unlike anything he had ever seen, tall and dark, with no discernible features. It seemed to absorb the light around it rather than reflect it. David's instinct screamed at him to flee. Every fiber of his being urged him to pack up and leave immediately. "Is someone there?" he called out hesitantly, his voice trembling slightly. No response came from the figure. It remained still, almost as if it were studying him. David felt a chill run down his spine as he grabbed his flashlight and pointed it toward the shadowy figure. But just as the beam illuminated the area where it stood, it vanished into thin air. A growing sense of dread, shaken but unwilling to let fear control him, David tried to convince himself that it was just his imagination playing tricks in the dark. He stoked the fire and attempted to focus on his surroundings instead of what he had just seen. However, as night deepened, strange noises began to echo through the woods, whispers that seemed to swirl around him like a haunting melody. They were faint at first, but grew louder with each passing moment. It felt as if unseen eyes were watching him from every direction. The shadows around him seemed to shift unnaturally. Even the trees appeared to lean closer, as if they were listening intently. David's heart raced again. This time it wasn't just fear, it was pure terror, fleeing into darkness. Unable to shake off the feeling that something sinister was lurking nearby, David made a snap decision. He needed to leave immediately. He packed up his gear with shaking hands, glancing nervously over his shoulder every few seconds, as if expecting to see that shadowy figure reappear. As he hurriedly gathered his belongings and extinguished the fire, he felt an overwhelming sense of dread settle over him. It was as though something was urging him not to leave, something dark and malevolent that wanted him to stay. Once everything was packed away in his backpack, David took one last look around before setting off down the trail toward his car parked at a nearby trailhead. The forest felt alive with unseen forces. Branches rustled ominously above him, while shadows danced just out of sight. As he walked briskly along the path illuminated only by his flashlight beam, fear gripped him tighter with every step taken away from camp. The feeling that something was following closely behind him became unbearable. The pursuit. David quickened his pace. Every instinct told him to run. He could hear faint whispers echoing through trees, a cacophony of voices that seemed both distant yet close enough for comfort. Panic surged within him as he glanced back over his shoulder, but saw only darkness creeping along behind him. The whispers grew louder. They began forming words, taunting phrases that sent chills down his spine. Stay, don't go, we're watching. He stumbled forward in terror. Adrenaline coursed through his veins like fire as he fought against an invisible force pulling at him from behind, urging him back toward whatever waited in those shadows. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the woods. A branch snapping nearby sent David's heart racing even faster than before. He bolted down the trail without looking back. Every step felt heavier than before, the weight of dread pressing down on him like an anchor pulling him into darkness itself. Escape from shadows. After what felt like hours of running through dense underbrush and rocky terrain, David finally emerged onto a gravel road leading back towards civilization. A small parking lot where other cars sat parked under flickering street lights illuminated by moonlight above. He reached his vehicle breathlessly, hands shaking uncontrollably as he fumbled for keys in his pocket before finally unlocking it with trembling fingers. Once inside, he slammed doors shut behind him while locking them tight against whatever horrors lurked outside waiting for their chance. As he drove away from those haunted woods, relief washed over him. But lingering fear remained like a shadow, clinging stubbornly despite distance gained between them both. The aftermath. In days following this harrowing experience, David found himself unable to shake off memories of that night. The shadowy figure still haunted his dreams while whispers echoed faintly in corners of consciousness whenever silence fell too heavily upon moments alone. He researched local legends about mysterious entities said to inhabit Sierra Nevada mountains. Stories about shadow figures known as Dark Watchers who observe travelers from afar without ever engaging directly. Tales passed down through generations warning adventurers against wandering too far into their territory lest they attract unwanted attention. Though skeptical at first, David couldn't deny what had transpired during those fateful hours spent camping alone beneath starlit skies, now tainted by darkness lurking just beyond reach. Conclusion. Ultimately, while life resumed its normal rhythm after returning home, David carried within himself lessons learned through shared experiences forged under starlit skies. A reminder that some mysteries remain best left unexplored. Shadows lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently for unsuspecting souls seeking solace amidst nature's beauty, only to discover something far more sinister hidden within depths where light fails ever so slightly. Story 7. The Lost Child. The Great Smoky Mountains, with their towering trees and serene landscapes, were the perfect backdrop for the Thompson family's camping trip. Comprised of parents Sarah and Mike, their young daughter Lily, and their teenage son Ethan, the family was excited to spend a weekend immersed in nature. They set up camp near a picturesque stream, surrounded by the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves. Setting up camp, as they settled in, The family spent the day hiking along scenic trails, exploring hidden waterfalls, and enjoying each other's company. Lily, a curious and adventurous 6-year-old, was particularly enamored with the natural beauty surrounding them. She collected pine cones and colorful leaves, her laughter echoing through the woods. That evening, after a hearty dinner cooked over an open fire, they gathered around to share stories and roast marshmallows. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the campsite. As darkness enveloped the forest, they felt a sense of peace, a perfect end to a wonderful day. The disappearance. As the family prepared for bed, Lily realized she had left her favorite stuffed animal, a small teddy bear, somewhere near the stream. "Mom, I can't find Mr. Cuddles," she exclaimed, her big eyes filled with worry. "Don't worry, sweetheart," Sarah reassured her. "It's probably just by the water. Why don't you go look for it? We'll be right here." Lily nodded eagerly and dashed off toward the stream. "I'll be back in just a minute," she called out as she disappeared into the darkness. Minutes passed, and when Lily didn't return, Mike began to feel uneasy. "Sarah, do you think we should go check on her?" he asked. "Maybe she just got distracted," Sarah replied, trying to remain calm. "Let's give her a few more minutes." However, as more time passed without any sign of their daughter, concern turned to panic. Mike stood up abruptly. "I'm going to find her," he said firmly. "The search begins." Mike ventured into the woods with only a flashlight to guide his way. He called out for Lily repeatedly, but received no response. The shadows seemed to close in around him as he navigated through the thick underbrush. He reached the stream, but found no sign of his daughter or her beloved toy. "Lily!" he shouted again, his voice echoing through the trees. When he returned to the campsite empty-handed, Sarah's face was pale with fear. "We need to call for help," she said urgently. Ethan joined them as they frantically searched the area around their campsite. They called out Lily's name until their voices grew hoarse, but received no answer. As night deepened and darkness enveloped them entirely, they felt an overwhelming sense of dread settle in, calling for help. With no sign of Lily after nearly an hour of searching, Mike decided it was time to alert authorities. He hurriedly dialed 911 while Sarah tried to keep herself composed for Ethan's sake. "Please, my daughter is lost in the woods." Mike pleaded into the phone as he relayed their location. Within minutes, local rangers arrived at their campsite equipped with flashlights and search gear. They quickly organized search parties and began combing through the dense woods surrounding the area. "Stay calm," one ranger said reassuringly to Sarah and Ethan as they joined hands tightly together by the firelight. "We'll find her." A growing sense of unease. As hours turned into what felt like an eternity, search teams scoured every inch of forest near their campsite while calling out for Lily. Each echoing voice met only with silence from deep within those dark woods. The family huddled together by the fire. Fear gnawed at them like a relentless predator stalking its prey. What if something sinister lurked among those trees? What if Lily had encountered danger? The Rangers continued their search into the night. Flashlights flickered like stars against an endless sea of darkness, while distant calls echoed through thick foliage, a haunting reminder that time was slipping away. The night deepens. As midnight approached, exhaustion began to take its toll on everyone gathered at camp, their spirits waning under weight of uncertainty pressing down upon them like an unseen force determined to crush hope itself. Suddenly, one ranger returned with news that sent chills down everyone's spine. "We found something near where she went missing." "What is it?" Mike asked anxiously as he stood up straight, heart racing wildly within his chest. It's a small shoe," he replied grimly while holding it up for all to see. The tiny shoe belonged unmistakably to Lily, its bright color contrasting sharply against darkened earth beneath his feet. Panic surged through Sarah as she pressed her hands against her face, tears streaming down cheeks, stained by fear and desperation. A mother's worst nightmare unfolding before her very eyes. The search intensifies as dawn broke over Great Smoky Mountains. Search efforts intensified. The Park Service brought in additional volunteers along with tracking dogs trained specifically for locating missing persons in wilderness areas. Every inch of ground was covered meticulously. Rangers combed through thick underbrush while volunteers scoured trails leading deeper into woods where shadows loomed larger than ever before. Days passed without any trace of Lily. Hope began to dwindle like embers fading from dying fire. The family clung desperately onto memories shared during happier times spent together, each laugh echoing faintly within hearts burdened by grief. Rumors circulated among locals about strange happenings in these woods. Stories passed down through generations warning adventurers against wandering too far into depths where darkness thrived beyond comprehension. Sinister theories emerge. As search efforts continued, whispers grew louder among townsfolk discussing possible sinister forces at play. Some believed that something unnatural had taken hold within those woods, a malevolent spirit seeking revenge upon unsuspecting wanderers who dared trespass its domain. Others spoke of shadowy figures seen lurking just beyond tree line, watching silently from afar while children played innocently unaware of dangers lurking nearby. Each tale sent shivers down spines of those who heard them, adding layers upon layers on an already heavy burden carried by grieving family desperately seeking answers amidst chaos unfolding around them. A glimmer of hope, just when it seemed all hope was lost. News broke that a group of hikers had spotted a young girl matching Lily's description wandering alone near one of trails leading deeper into mountains. A glimmer of hope ignited within hearts once more. Search teams mobilized immediately. Rangers rushed toward location provided by hikers while family held breath, collectively praying for a miracle that would bring their daughter home safe again. Hours later, amidst cheers erupting from crowd gathered anxiously awaiting news, a ranger emerged carrying Lily in his arms, her face smeared with dirt, yet eyes shining brightly, filled with innocence untouched despite horrors faced during time spent lost among those towering trees. The reunion, Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she rushed forward, embracing her daughter tightly, relief flooding through every fiber within her being. The nightmare finally over. What happened? Mike asked softly, kneeling beside them both as they clung tightly together. Fear replaced by overwhelming love radiating between them like warmth radiating from sun breaking through clouds above. I was looking for Mr. Cuddles, Lily explained shyly while clutching Teddy Bear tightly against chest. A reminder that even amidst darkness there remained light shining brightly within hearts filled with love. The family rejoiced together, laughter echoing through woods once more as they celebrated reunion long awaited. Grateful beyond measure for second chance given after facing fears that threatened to tear them apart forevermore. Moving forward, in days following reunion, life resumed its normal rhythm once again, though scars left behind would never fully heal. They served as reminders that love conquers, all even amidst shadows lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently for unsuspecting souls wandering too far into depths unknown. Though memories lingered long after returning home from Great Smoky Mountains, the Thompsons found strength within each other, forging bonds unbreakable forged through trials faced together, overcoming darkness that threatened to consume them whole. Story 8. The Haunted Tree. A group of friends, Rachel, Tom, Jenna, and Mike, decided to embark on a weekend camping trip in the enchanting woods of the Pacific Northwest. Drawn by the allure of towering trees and the promise of adventure, they set off with backpacks filled with supplies and excitement. Little did they know that their journey would lead them to an encounter with something far beyond their understanding. Arrival at the campsite. After a long drive filled with laughter and stories, they arrived at their campsite, a secluded area surrounded by ancient trees and vibrant underbrush. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. They quickly set up their tents and gathered firewood, eager to explore their surroundings. As night fell, they sat around a crackling campfire, sharing ghost stories and roasting marshmallows. The atmosphere was lighthearted, filled with camaraderie and laughter. However, as the fire flickered against the encroaching darkness, an unsettling feeling began to creep in. The discovery of the haunted tree. The next morning, after a night of restless sleep filled with strange dreams, the friends decided to venture deeper into the woods. They hiked along winding trails, admiring the beauty of their surroundings. It was during this exploration that they stumbled upon something extraordinary, a massive, twisted tree standing alone in a small clearing. The tree was unlike any they had ever seen. Its bark was gnarled and darkened with age, covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The air around it felt charged, as if the tree itself was alive and aware of their presence. "Look at those carvings," Jenna said, stepping closer to examine the symbols etched into the bark. "What do you think they mean?" "I don't know," Tom replied, his voice low, "but it feels wrong." As they approached the tree, an overwhelming sense of unease washed over them. The air grew heavy and thick. It felt as if something was watching them from within the shadows. Rachel shivered involuntarily. She could almost hear whispers carried on the wind, soft voices beckoning her closer. The tree begins to glow. Suddenly, without warning, the tree began to glow with an ethereal light. The symbols carved into its bark illuminated in hues of blue and green, casting eerie shadows on the ground around it. The friends stood frozen in place, fear gripping their hearts. "What is happening?" Mike gasped, taking a step back. "I don't know," Rachel exclaimed, her eyes wide with terror. "We should get out of here." Before they could react further, a low rumble echoed through the clearing as if the very earth trembled beneath them. The glow intensified, bathing everything in an otherworldly radiance that felt both mesmerizing and terrifying. "Run!" Tom shouted as panic surged through him, fleeing from terror. The friends turned and fled into the woods, hearts pounding in their chests as they raced away from the glowing tree. They could hear strange sounds behind them, whispers that seemed to follow them through the trees like a haunting melody. Each step felt heavier than the last. It was as if unseen forces were pulling at them from behind. Branches scratched at their arms and legs as they pushed through dense underbrush. They stumbled over roots and rocks, but kept running. Adrenaline fueled their escape from whatever dark presence lurked near that cursed tree. "Where do we go?" Jenna cried out between gasps for breath. "Just keep moving," Mike urged as he led them down a narrow path he hoped would lead them back toward their campsite. The forest grows darker as they ran deeper into the woods. Darkness seemed to close in around them. The once familiar landscape transformed into a maze of shadows and twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers grasping for them. The whispers grew louder. Indistinguishable words echoed through their minds, a cacophony of voices urging them to return. "We can't stop," Rachel shouted desperately as fear surged within her. She felt as though something was right behind them, watching, waiting, finally emerging onto a wider trail. They paused momentarily to catch their breath, hearts racing wildly while glancing nervously over shoulders expecting to see that glowing tree looming ominously behind them. "We need to warn others," Tom panted heavily, determination etched across his face despite exhaustion creeping into every muscle within him. Returning to camp, they made their way back toward their campsite, each step weighed down by dread lingering just beneath surface thoughts. The memory of glowing symbols burned into minds like scars left behind after battle fought against unseen enemies lurking within shadows cast by ancient trees surrounding them. When they finally reached camp, relief washed over them momentarily until realization hit hard. All sense of normalcy had vanished. Something sinister had taken root deep within those woods where darkness thrived beyond comprehension. "What do we do now?" Jenna asked nervously as she glanced around at familiar surroundings now tinged with fear. A place once filled with laughter now felt haunted by echoes of something lost forevermore. Seeking answers, determined not to let fear consume them completely, Rachel suggested researching local legends about haunted places in Pacific Northwest. Stories passed down through generations warning adventurers against wandering too far into depths where darkness thrived beyond reach. They gathered around the campfire later that night, sharing tales learned from locals about ancient trees said to hold spirits trapped within bark twisted by time. Stories warning against disturbing sacred ground where nature's balance had been disrupted long ago. As darkness enveloped them once more, unease settled heavily upon shoulders like weight pressing down upon souls burdened by knowledge gained through shared experiences forged under starlit skies, now tainted by shadows lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently for unsuspecting wanderers seeking solace amidst nature's beauty, only to discover something far more sinister hidden within depths where light fails ever so slightly. Confronting fears. The following day brought no comfort, despite attempts made toward normalcy. Each friend carried within themselves remnants left behind after confrontation faced beneath that haunted tree. Their bond strengthened, yet burdened by knowledge gained through shared experiences forged amid trials faced together, overcoming darkness, threatening consume them whole. Determined not let fear dictate actions any longer, they ventured back toward Twisted Tree once more. This time armed not only with flashlights, but also courage found deep within hearts united against forces unseen lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently for unsuspecting souls wandering too far into depths unknown. As they approached slowly this time, Rachel stepped forward bravely, tracing fingers along carvings etched deeply in a bark. Symbols pulsing faintly beneath touch like heartbeat echoing through centuries past, reminding all who dared trespass against sacred ground held dear by spirits long forgotten. Maybe we can appease whatever is here, she suggested softly while glancing back at friends standing close together behind her, eyes wide filled with uncertainty, yet determination shining brightly within souls united against darkness, threatening pull-apart bonds forged through trials faced together, overcoming fears lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently for unsuspecting wanderers, seeking solace amidst nature's beauty, only discover something far more sinister hidden within depths where light fails ever so slightly. A final encounter. As Rachel spoke those words aloud, something shifted within air surrounding them. The whispers grew louder, once more swirling around like wind, carrying secrets long buried beneath layers time forgotten. And then it happened. A surge of energy erupted from twisted roots below, sending shockwaves rippling outward, causing leaves rustle violently overhead while branches swayed unnaturally, as if responding directly toward presence gathered beneath ancient boughs. In that moment, realization dawned upon all gathered there. They were not alone anymore. The spirits awakened from slumber deep within bark, twisted by time, began revealing themselves one by one, emerging from shadows cast across forest floor, illuminating path ahead, guiding friends forward toward understanding hidden truths buried beneath layers history forgotten, understanding their place. As light enveloped them completely, transforming darkness into brilliance, illuminating faces filled wonderment, all mingled together, creating harmony, between worlds once separated, now intertwined forevermore. In time spent together beneath canopy stars shining brightly above, they learned lessons taught through shared experiences forged under starlit skies, now tinged with magic woven seamlessly throughout tapestry existence itself, reminding all who dared tread lightly upon sacred ground held dear by spirits long forgotten. Though fears lingered still after leaving haunted tree behind forever changed, they emerged stronger, united against forces unseen lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently for unsuspecting souls wandering too far into depths unknown. Their bond, unbreakable, forged through trials faced together, overcoming darkness, threatening consume them whole. A reminder that even amidst shadows cast by ancient trees whispering secrets lost among time itself, there exists beauty found only when hearts open wide, ready embrace mysteries waiting patiently unfold before eyes willing see beyond surface reality. Story 9. The Creepy Creature. In the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, a solo camper named Jake sought solitude and adventure. He had always been drawn to the wilderness, finding peace among the towering trees and the sounds of nature. This time, he decided to venture deep into the woods, far from the noise of civilization, eager for a weekend of reflection and exploration. Setting up camp, Jake arrived at a remote campsite nestled beside a babbling brook, surrounded by lush greenery and the sweet scent of pine. After setting up his tent and gathering firewood, he spent the day hiking along winding trails, marveling at the beauty of his surroundings. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow on everything it touched. As evening approached, Jake returned to his campsite and prepared dinner over an open fire. The crackling flames provided warmth and light as he settled down to enjoy his meal. The sounds of nature enveloped him, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, and the gentle flow of water nearby. It was a perfect evening. However, as night began to fall, an unsettling feeling crept in. The forest transformed from a serene haven into something darker and more mysterious. Shadows danced among the trees, and the once comforting sounds morphed into eerie whispers that sent shivers down his spine. Strange noises. After finishing his meal, Jake sat by the fire, lost in thought. As darkness enveloped the forest, he began to hear strange noises, twigs snapping in the distance and leaves rustling as if something was moving nearby. At first, he dismissed it as wildlife going about its business. After all, he was in the woods where animals roamed freely. But as the minutes ticked by, the noises grew louder and more pronounced. Jake's heart raced as he strained to listen. The sounds were becoming increasingly unnerving. They felt deliberate, almost like something was stalking him from just beyond the tree-line. "Get a grip," he muttered to himself, trying to shake off his growing anxiety. "It's probably just a deer or something." The glowing creature. Just as he began to convince himself that everything was fine, Jake caught sight of something out of the corner of his eye, a faint glow emanating from beyond the trees. He turned slowly to look but saw nothing at first. The glow flickered like a distant lantern, illuminating patches of darkness among the trunks. Curiosity piqued despite his fear. Jake stood up and took a cautious step toward the source of light. With each step closer, he felt an intense sense of dread wash over him, a primal instinct warning him that something was not right. As he neared the tree line, he finally saw it, a strange creature lurking just beyond the shadows. It was unlike anything he had ever encountered. Its body shimmered with an otherworldly light that pulsed rhythmically. The creature was small but appeared to be covered in iridescent scales that reflected hues of green and blue under the moonlight. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he froze in place. The creature had large eyes that seemed to glow with an inner fire. It appeared to be watching him intently. Fear gripped him tightly as he realized that this was no ordinary animal. It felt sentient, aware of his presence. A sense of fear. The creature tilted its head slightly, as if trying to understand what it was seeing. Jake felt an overwhelming urge to flee. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back and escape whatever this thing was. He took a step backward, but stumbled over a root hidden beneath fallen leaves. The sound startled him, and startled the creature as well. It emitted a low growl that reverberated through the air like thunder rolling across distant hills. Panic surged through Jake's veins. Without thinking twice, he turned and sprinted back toward his campsite. As he ran through the woods, branches whipped against his arms and legs while shadows seemed to close in around him. He could feel something following closely behind, but dared not look back. Fleeing into darkness, Jake burst into his campsite breathlessly, adrenaline coursing through him like wildfire as he scrambled for his gear. He grabbed his flashlight and began packing up hastily, his mind racing with thoughts of escape. The forest around him felt alive with movement. Whispers echoed through trees like ghostly voices urging him onward, urging him away from whatever creature lurked just beyond sight, waiting patiently for unsuspecting souls wandering too far into depths unknown. Suddenly, just as he finished packing up, Jake heard it again. The low growl resonating through darkness, sending chills down spine once more. He fumbled with his backpack while glancing nervously over shoulder, expecting to see glowing eyes peering back at him from shadows cast by flickering firelight. "Come on," he muttered under breath, desperately trying to maintain composure, even though fear threatened to consume every ounce courage left within him. The escape, with everything finally packed away, Jake dashed toward the trail leading back toward civilization, heart pounding wildly against chest as adrenaline fueled each step taken away from campsite, now tinged with memories, forever haunted by encounter faced beneath starlit skies, now darkened by shadows lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently for unsuspecting wanderers seeking solace amidst nature's beauty, only discover something far more sinister hidden within depths where light fails ever so slightly. As he navigated through thick underbrush, every sound amplified in silence surrounding him. The rustling leaves now sounded like whispers beckoning him closer, while twigs snapped beneath feet, echoing ominously against backdrop stillness enveloping forest around. Finally emerging onto a wider path leading back toward parking lot where car awaited eagerly. Relief washed over him momentarily until realization hit hard. Something sinister had taken root deep within those woods where darkness thrived beyond comprehension. Reflection on fear. In days following this harrowing experience, Jake found himself unable to shake off memories lingering long after leaving Appalachian Mountains behind. The shadowy figure haunting dreams while whispers echoed faintly corners consciousness whenever silence fell too heavily upon moments alone. Determined not let fear dictate actions any longer, he began researching local legends surrounding strange creatures said inhabit these woods. Stories passed down through generations warning adventurers against wandering too far into depths where darkness thrived beyond reach. Though skeptical at first, Jake couldn't deny what had transpired during fateful night, spent camping alone beneath starlit skies, now tainted by encounter faced beneath twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers grasping for unsuspecting souls wandering too far into depths unknown. Ultimately, while life resumed normal rhythm after returning home, he carried within himself lessons learned through shared experiences forged under starlit skies now tinged with magic woven seamlessly throughout tapestry existence itself, reminding all who dared tread lightly upon sacred ground held dear by spirits long forgotten. Though haunted by memories, Jake found solace knowing some experiences shape us forever, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary tales woven seamlessly in a tapestry called life. A reminder that adventure lies not only within realms we can see, but also within shadows cast by flickering campfires dancing against darkness surrounding us all. Story 10. The Abandoned Mine. A group of friends, Sam, Lisa, Mark, and Jenna, decided to embark on a weekend camping trip in the breathtaking Rocky Mountains. They were excited to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and immerse themselves in nature. After a long drive filled with laughter and anticipation, they arrived at their campsite, nestled among towering pines and the gentle sound of a nearby stream. Setting up camp, the friends quickly set up their tents and gathered firewood for the evening. As they prepared dinner over an open fire, they shared stories and reminisced about past adventures. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the landscape. However, as darkness fell, an unsettling feeling began to creep in. After dinner, Sam suggested they explore the woods surrounding their campsite. "I heard there's an old mine nearby," he said with a mischievous grin. "We should check it out." Lisa hesitated. "I've heard some creepy stories about abandoned mines. Aren't they dangerous?" "Come on, what's the worst that could happen?" Mark chimed in, eager for adventure. Despite Lisa's reservations, the group decided to venture into the woods in search of the mine. Discovering the mine, as they hiked deeper into the forest, the atmosphere grew heavier. The trees loomed above them like ancient sentinels, casting long shadows that danced in the moonlight. After a short trek, They finally stumbled upon the entrance to the abandoned mine, a dark gaping hole in the side of a hill. The mine looked foreboding. Its wooden supports were rotting, and debris littered the ground around it. Strange symbols were carved into the entrance, adding to its eerie presence. "Wow, this is awesome," Sam exclaimed, stepping closer to peer inside. "Are you sure this is safe?" Lisa asked nervously, glancing around as if expecting something to jump out at her. "Don't be such a scaredy cat," Mark teased. "Let's go check it out." With a mix of excitement and trepidation, they decided to enter the mine. They switched on their flashlights and stepped into the darkness. Entering the darkness. As they ventured deeper into the mine, their flashlights illuminated damp walls and crumbling rock formations. The air was cool and musty, filled with an unsettling silence that made their skin crawl. Each step echoed ominously through the tunnels. "Guys, this place gives me the creeps," Jenna said quietly as she shivered involuntarily. "Just think of all the history here," Sam replied enthusiastically. "People worked here for years. It's like stepping back in time." But as they moved further into the darkness, that sense of history morphed into something more sinister. The atmosphere shifted. It felt as if they were being watched by unseen eyes lurking just beyond their flashlight beams. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the tunnels, a sharp crack followed by a low rumble that sent chills down their spines. "What was that?" Lisa gasped, her heart racing. "I don't know," Mark replied nervously. "Maybe it's just settling." Unease grows. Despite Mark's attempt to reassure them, unease settled heavily over the group like a thick fog. They pressed on deeper into the mine. However, every sound seemed amplified. Their footsteps echoed loudly against stone walls while distant dripping water created an unsettling rhythm that played tricks on their minds. As they rounded a corner, they stumbled upon an expansive cavern filled with strange glowing crystals embedded in the walls, an otherworldly sight that momentarily captivated them. "Look at those!" Jenna exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder as she reached out to touch one of the crystals. But just as she did so, another loud crack reverberated through the mine, this time closer than before, and with it came an unsettling sensation that something was very wrong. "I think we should head back," Lisa urged nervously as she glanced around anxiously. Shadows seemed to flicker at the edges of their vision. "I agree," Sam said reluctantly, but still curious about what lay ahead. "Let's just take one more look." Strange noises and lights. As they turned back toward where they had come from, strange noises began to fill the air. Whispers that seemed to echo off walls like ghostly murmurs carried on unseen winds. The lights from their flashlights flickered ominously, as if responding to some unseen force deep within those tunnels. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a bright light appeared ahead, illuminating everything around it. A pulsating glow that seemed alive. Panic surged through them as fear gripped tightly around hearts racing wildly against chests. "Run!" Mark shouted as he turned on his heel, sprinting back down tunnel without hesitation. The others followed closely behind, adrenaline coursing through their veins as they fled from whatever horror awaited them deeper inside those darkened passages. Fleeing from terror, they raced through winding tunnels, breathless and terrified as whispers grew louder behind them. Echoes of laughter mingled with cries for help, creating cacophony that threatened to drown out thoughts racing through minds filled only with fear. Just when it seemed like escape was impossible, they burst out of tunnel entrance into fresh air, the moonlight illuminating their path as relief washed over them momentarily until realization hit hard. Something had followed them outside. They turned back toward mine entrance, heartbeats pounding in unison while shadows danced along walls, flickering eerily under moonlight, revealing nothing but darkness lurking beyond sight, waiting patiently for unsuspecting souls wandering too far into depths unknown. The aftermath. Once safely back at camp, shaken but alive, the friends gathered around fire, trying to regain composure while recounting what had transpired inside abandoned mine. "What was that thing?" Jenna asked breathlessly, eyes wide with fear still lingering deep within, soul haunted by memories faced during moments spent beneath starlit skies, now tainted by shadows lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently for unsuspecting wanderers seeking solace amidst nature's beauty, only discover something far more sinister hidden within depths where light fails ever so slightly. "I don't know," Sam admitted quietly, guilt gnawing at him for insisting on exploring despite warnings from locals about dangers associated with abandoned mines. Stories passed down through generations warning adventurers against wandering too far into depths where darkness thrived beyond comprehension. In days following ordeal faced together, friendships strengthened, yet burdened by knowledge gained through shared experiences forged under starlit skies, now tinged with magic woven seamlessly throughout tapestry existence itself, reminding all who dared tread lightly upon sacred ground held dear by spirits long forgotten. Though haunted by memories, each friend found solace knowing some experiences shape us forever, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary tales woven seamlessly in a tapestry called life. A reminder that adventure lies not only within realms we can see, but also within shadows cast by flickering campfires dancing against darkness surrounding us all.